The following podcast is presented by Hormone Logics. Discover your ageless health.
And now part 2 of our conversation with Kerryne Henich. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Kerryne here, and she's telling us about her road to pro. I have a question for you. So when did you start coaching? Because Kerryne is my coach with Fit Body Fusion, and I'm curious, when in this journey did you start going, okay, now I need to help others?
It was I think it was in 2018. I started coaching, and I was still working full time at the time. Is that when COVID hit? Please remind me. I'm sorry. It's been a long couple of years.
We all blacked out when COVID happened. I don't know. Felt like 19 years.
It was right before COVID hit.
Okay.
Like shortly before. It was like the fall before COVID hit. And I was still working full time. I was an office manager for a big tech company. And so it was kind of ironic that then COVID hit, and I actually had like more time to really focus on coaching because I was working from home. Well, I was working from home part of the time, and then I had a full like office to myself where I could kind of do both. And I was able to build up my clientele enough that I could quit my full-time job. So it was really nice that I could do that and then focus more on coaching and travel more with, clients and all the national shows and kind of really build up that side of it. And then, it was really good for me. I always told myself I didn't want to coach. I've been asked a lot in the past to like coach people, and it was like not even something I wanted to dive into. But the more I've been into the sport and the more people I've met, I love this industry so much. It's my passion, it's my life, and I love it. So
Kerryne,
even like
the term coach, can we just back up for a second? You know what that means. And I think Amy knows what that means, but I would guess that there's going to be tons of people that watch this podcast that really don't know what a coach does.
Well, we're like a therapist. It's all encompassing. It does all things. So we obviously help with lifestyle transformation clients. So whether people just want to have like that transformation where they're, maybe they've just had a child, or, they've just gained weight and they just want to lose weight and kind of transform their bodies. We do that side. We also help with athletes that want to compete, get on stage. So whether, they're doing bikini, wellness, figure, whatever it is, to actually get that, optimal physique to get on stage with, and then picking their shows, suit, all the things that go in with competition.
So what would you say to the women who maybe think they don't need a coach? Because I've heard that there are these women that think they can just do all of this.
Like, okay.
Well, I think it's kind of crazy because I hear about professional male athletes, right? Like maybe it's Kobe Bryant or maybe it's LeBron James or whomever it is. They all have coaches.
Yeah.
None of them think they're going to be in the NBA without a coach. So where is this? How do you talk to people about that?
Well, coaches have coaches. I mean, I need a coach. I could never look at myself and look and say, oh yeah, you're ready for the stage. I mean, I did coach myself for a while years ago, but the competition is so much more fierce now than it has ever been. People are coming in. I go to shows and I'm like, my mind is blown sometimes. Like, these athletes are insane. The conditioning, the level of athletes that we have now is just ridiculous. So to think that you can coach yourself and prep yourself and look at yourself, it's impossible. I mean, we're so hard on ourselves. We're so like, we nitpick ourselves, but you need that third eye. You need someone to look at you and say, you wouldn't even notice things that I would notice about you, or, like, I don't know, that your coach might nitpick and say, like, even with posing, just making little tweaks to like your foot placement, or, like how your knees are turned, or just tiny little things that you can't see about yourself. So having a coach, I think, is very, very important with anybody, even coaches.
How does somebody find a coach? Is there like a website for coaches, or is there like, what's your website if they wanted you to be the coach? Maybe tell us a little bit about how somebody could make you their coach.
Yeah, I mean, fitbodyfusion.com. You can go there and you can fill out that online application and choose your coach that way, or put in a request form, and they can pick a coach for you that maybe they feel like would be a good fit for you.
Do they have to be ready? Do they have to be like already in shape, or could it be like any stage 3 weeks after the baby's born? Like, what is there a timing on this thing, or is it really just whenever?
I think that you can start at any time. Like, we've dealt with people who have just had babies and they just kind of want to get started and start that transformation first. Obviously, you're not going to get on stage and, a couple of months right after you've had a baby. I mean, most people, some people probably could, but most people cannot. So it's usually just having that assessment with a coach, just having them look at you and say, okay, let's start here, doing like a transformation first. And then if they feel like you're ready to get on stage at some point, we will help you decide when you're ready. As a coach, that's what our job is to say, let's start with a lifestyle plan first, and then work on getting the stage ready.
I just wanted to mention that there are male coaches as well, and male competitors, and Fit Body Fusion does both.
You've reminded me so many times, babe. I appreciate it.
You
That's
don't
great.
You don't want to put on the cute little Speedo thing?
I don't think the Speedo route's for me.
No.
Okay. We have amazing coaches. We have several awesome coaches we have male coaches. We've got every category. We have professionals that work with all categories, and we've got some pretty incredible coaches. So.
Well, Kerryne, I wanted to find out a little bit more about you outside of bodybuilding, because I think that sometimes we kind of forget that athletes are also real people that like have real lives. So I've got a burning question for you. Is there anything you're watching on Netflix right now, and why? Like, what's your your binge-worthy show?
What did I just recently binge? I'm kind of a weirdo. When I do cardio, I watch like reality TV.
Okay.
So like the dumb like stuff I don't have to think about, I can just like burn through, like Housewives, like.
Yeah.
Right now I'm watching.
Amy's watching that too.
Yeah.
That's I'm doing the most recent here, or what is it? Married at First Sight is what I'm watching right now, because
I watched that one.
They're fascinating to me. I don't know how people can do that, but I think it's fascinating. So just anything like that I can just not even think about and just watch while I'm doing my cardio. I watched what is it? Catfish. I'm started at season 1, and I'm just went through those because it's hilarious. My husband and I, we watched. What are we watching? We love King of Queens. Like, that's something that we can just watch every season. We feel like that's us in a nutshell. Like, that's our life. But yeah, I don't know. We just watch like goofy stuff.
That's great. So, you mentioned that you were an office manager of a tech company, but you got enough clients to kind of shift into this full-time coaching. Is that accurate? Full-time coach? Okay. And so what kind of led up to that jump? I know you said it was the clientele, but when did you like figure out this is a goal of mine? Like, I am going to try and get enough clients, and I do want to kind of do this as a profession. When did that kind of happen?
It was kind of just, it just happened. It was weird. It was, I don't know. I think I kind of thought about, I was approached with it, and it was like something I just thought, well, let's just see how it goes, because it is kind of scary when you have a full-time job, you have health insurance, you have, a 401k, you've got all of these things, and you have that security blanket, to then try something like this that you don't have any of that. It's not like a for sure. It could all fall apart, and you may not have anything to just do, and you may not make good money. I don't know. And it's not always about the money for me. I really do love my clients. Like I love them. I care about their lives. I care about them as individuals. And that's kind of what started it, is I genuinely love my clients. And so in the beginning it was like, well, let's see how it goes, and I'll just take on a few and see how I do and how I like it. And I fell in love with my clients. And from that, it was like, well, I actually really love this. Let's see what happens. And it just kind of grew and it snowballed. And when it got so big for me and I just grew, my husband was like, just make that leap, just do it, because
That's
it's
awesome.
not slowing down. So
Yeah.
you may as well just go with it and let's just see what happens. And it's been awesome. I really genuinely love what I do. Every part of it. I love traveling. I love going to shows. I love being there. I love being involved. I love everything. So yeah, it was scary, but it just worked.
I'm sure the relationships between you and the other coaches is pretty amazing too, to have that kind of community. And obviously, you know, you've said to me, like, Jamie's an amazing leader and you love learning from her. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, you know, obviously Fit Body Fusion is for those who aren't familiar.
Hey, Amy, we have a great sponsor on board, Hormone Logics.
Yeah, they're actually my hormone doctors, so I think they're pretty awesome. They do hormone replacement therapies to revive energy and strength so that you can continue to feel younger longer. They do bioidentical hormones, menopause therapy, andropause therapy.
They help men with things like ED, low T, sleep regulation.
They help you to have a more satisfying sex life, improved mood, improved cognition, healthier skin, bones, and hair.
How does somebody get in touch with Hormone Logics?
You can visit their website at www.hormonelogics.com. Stop missing out on living your best life and be the best version of yourself. It's a very large team, right? And so I'm sure, like, going into it, you probably had some apprehension, but just talk about maybe for a minute, like, the community of that team and what you've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge team, and you do kind of feel at first a little bit overwhelmed because it is such a big team. And am I going to get lost in this? How is it going to be? But Jamie's incredibly warm. She's just such a wonderful human being, and she has such a great foundation for us coaches to grow and learn. And I've really bonded with them, and it's just so incredible. We have a great platform to teach and to develop whatever we need to, whatever we want, whatever ideas we have, we can go to her, and she's like, yes, let's do it. Let's make it happen. She's so supportive, and it's been honestly like a dream come true for me, because there's so many ideas that we come up with, and it's like, this is crazy, but let's just do it. We want to do all these cool things, especially for like the master athletes and the master clients. And what that means is basically like 35 and over. So in our world, that means you're a master, you're older. And so we just have all these great ideas for things that we can do to bring everyone together and have that camaraderie and support. So that you don't feel lost in the mix of like the young ones. And, we just want to have just so many ways to communicate and come together and meet up, and just, we have some really, really fun things planned, and she is all for it. Just, yes, let's do it. And I've never had that before. So it's been really, really fun. I'm so excited. So yeah, it's been, I can't say enough good things about her. She's great.
I feel like obviously, but the journey is just so much different, I would imagine, than if you were a 20-year-old competitor versus a mom who has kids. And, just for you to be creating that community for people is pretty amazing.
And she had a big girl job too.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of downplayed it a little bit, but I would imagine office manager at a tech company is like kind of a big deal. So balancing that profession, and a family, and I tip my hat to you. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of work, but we make it happen, right? We're bosses. That's what we do.
So Kerryne, I wanted to ask you a question about like the women that are kind of getting started. They see where you're at. They see your pictures. They see, you on stage, you're a pro, you're kind of inspirational just having that pro title, right? But so many women maybe don't make it for one reason or another. What's that word of encouragement that you would give them? Or what's the word of advice that maybe you'd give them to maybe temper their expectations and encourage them to really chase after it like you did?
So I think a lot of people, they have like really high expectations right from the gate, and which is great. It's good to be confident and like have that, that excitement, but it's a really tough industry and it's really, really hard, but that doesn't mean you can't make it. I just think you have to set realistic expectations for yourself. You have to be willing to put in the work. It's going to be hard. It's an expensive hobby. So you have to, you have to understand that too. Like, it's not going to be cheap by any means. Like, I don't even want to know how much money I've spent over the last 15 years on this sport.
Do you have to go back to that spreadsheet you mentioned?
I have a lot of those. It's an expensive hobby. But also, like, you have to learn to be a good loser to be a good winner. And that's something I tell all of my clients. If you can't lose and keep your head up high and be proud of what you've done and be excited for the winner, you will never, ever, ever make a good winner, because you're going to lose a hell of a lot more than you're going to win. And especially when you get to the pro level, like, I have lost so much more than I've won. But I'm still proud of everything I've done. And I'm still proud of every look I brought to the stage, most of them. Sometimes I shouldn't have gone on stage, but I'm still proud of it. And you have to be that way or you will not make it in the sport. You just won't.
You mentioned the finances just really quickly, and we don't have to dive into the exact specifics, but that's something that I'm really interested in just from kind of a numbers perspective. I'm a business consultant by profession. And so when Amy told me that she was going to be starting this journey, I immediately knew it was not going to be cheap. I've heard all of the stories about, the supplements and the gym memberships and the massages and the travel and the photo shoots and the bikinis and the list goes, it never stops, right? There's always more to buy and do. But how did you balance the financial kind of expectations and then, kind of the reality of it is it's not going to return an ROI. So kind of maybe understand, like, how did you understand in your brain or reconcile that, like, yes, I'm going to be investing money. This isn't necessarily even about the money, and it's just because of what I want to do. Like, how did that go in your brain?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I feel like I don't even know how I made it. Honestly, I don't know how I did it in the past because we really didn't have a lot of money. And I don't know how I was able to compete the way I did. I don't know. I know I work full time and I don't know. I feel like I was able to make it work somehow. And whether that's I worked overtime and I was able to save up the money to do it. Obviously, like, having a suit sponsor is awesome because that does help. So if
what
you can
sponsor?
get sponsorship,
Suit.
A competition suit.
Your bikini.
Yeah,
Got
for your bikinis. That's helpful. If you can get sponsorships for supplements, that's helpful. Obviously, not everyone's going to have that. So yes, it is expensive. The shows, the entry fees, the registration fees, the NPC card, all of this costs money and it doesn't go away. So you have to just figure out, okay, if you're going to do 1 show a year, 2 shows a year, how many classes are you going to enter? You have to balance that out. If you're going to do a photo shoot, you've got to figure this out ahead of time and, I guess just save and balance because it is expensive, but it's worth it. And no, this is not a money-making sport. As a pro, you're not going to make money doing this. So people have it in their mind, I'm going to go to the pro level and I'm going to make this a career and I'm going to make money. You're not. Because even if you win a pro show, you might make enough winning to cover the expenses that it took to get you there. But that's it.
Yeah, I would say probably even the most famous pros are not really making a lot of money. No.
It's just, that's not what it's about. It's more, it is literally just going to be a hobby. And it's fun. And so if you don't love it enough to continue it, and if you don't love it enough to be okay with the amount of money that you're spending, it's probably not for you. So I guess I just love it enough to be okay.
Well, I can totally relate. Kerryne, I mean, I'm not a pro. I'm not getting on stage in a bikini anytime soon, but I've invested a lot of time and energy and money in playing basketball. And I haven't ever made a single dollar playing basketball. I didn't play in college, but I love it. I play a couple times a week. It's a few hours at the gym. It's a good sweat. I've justified it in my brain. I'm buying these $100 shoes. They better be good. And yeah, it's a hobby. And I sometimes have to remind myself of that, that it's a hobby, because I take it pretty seriously sometimes.
I think we all have those things that, we just love enough that we're willing to spend the money on. And this can be excessive to some people, but I think it's not the bar, it's not drugs, it's not anything that's harming us. It's, and for some of us, it's something that got us through some really hard stuff in our lives. And, for others, I don't know, it depends on what it's doing for you personally. But for myself, like it's something that got me through a lot of crap. So it's really personal for me and I love it.
I felt that way after I went to my first show. I did the Nashville Fit show and we met so many people, and I'm a lover of stories and and I want to know, like, why'd you get into this? And everyone that we met had some sort of story, some sort of redemption story about why they're doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah. I think you find that in this industry, like everyone has a reason, they have a story. And that's what I've loved so much about just meeting people is, their why and like why they do this. Because I've met some incredible people with really cool stories. So
one of the things I've gotten a chance to kind of love about this journey with Amy is the rest days, right? Because at first she didn't really like taking rest days. She was like, this sucks. I need to be at the gym. So like, I think one time you actually went to the gym and you just sat in the parking lot just because you just like, no, that's a made up story.
Yeah,
that's
a made up story.
But seriously, on your rest days, what do you find yourself doing? Are you, do you like to play Scrabble? Are you playing board games with the kids? Are you taking a walk with the dog? What's the rest day look like for you?
I think my rest days are more like active rest days. It's really hard for me too. We'll go, like, if it's nice outside, we'll go walk around the lake or, go for a walk outside.
Enjoy some nature. Nice.
Yeah. It's hard for me to just sit
still.
Yeah. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to ask you a question that's more geared towards like your younger self. We started this interview and this podcast with you talking about your eating disorder, and I really appreciate that honesty. It sounds like you maybe have just accepted that that's who you used to be, and now you've kind of grown out of that. So what are maybe two things that you, like a piece of advice that you would literally give your younger self, being where you're at now? You've accomplished so many great things. You're a pro, you're a coach, you're inspirational for so many other people. But what would maybe that piece of advice be to that younger version of yourself?
I mean, I think we all wish we could kind of tell our younger versions of ourselves something, different, like almost parent them a little bit. But I guess I wish I could just, tell my younger version of me just not to let anyone else tell you your value or your worth. And that you actually will amount to something. So just hang in there. It's going to be okay. Because I think, I grew up feeling like I was worthless. And, so just knowing that I'm not is pretty nice. That I proved everyone wrong. So it's kind of, I don't know, I kind of broke a lot of cycles, I think, that my family had set. So that's kind of cool.
I feel like even pursuing bodybuilding, there's a lot of people along the way that'll say things like, I'm not sure about women having muscles, or why would you want to do that to your body, or why would you get on stage in that bikini? And so you have to just along the way, just kind of continuously do it for you and ignore all that negative voices. Did you experience any of that as you started?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've had several experiences where I've heard, I heard a lady, I was walking down the street, and I heard her tell her son, don't look at that woman, she's disgusting.
Oh man.
And she was overweight and her son was little. And I turned around to her and I said, excuse me, did you really just say that? And she stormed off. But just things like that. And then I heard,
is that because she thought that your body type was maybe unachievable, or?
I don't know. I think it was just, I was in I had just come from the gym and I was in a tank top and leggings.
I don't know if I'd use the word disgusting at any point. So
I don't know. I think some people are just, I don't know. I've heard things like that, just murmurs. And I used to be really embarrassed to wear tank tops in public because of it. And I think I was embarrassed, about my muscles. And now I don't care. I really don't care. If people want to look at me and say something, I don't care. But I had this guy and my friend, we were in the elevator. So I used to work on the 16th floor. So we were in the elevator on the way up back to our office. And this guy looked at me and he said, do you work out or did you used to be a man? And and I was
did you punch him?
I actually was so shocked. I just laughed and I was like, what? And then I don't know. I said, I don't remember what I said. I think I said, I work out. And I was so shocked and he got off. And then my coworker she said, you should have leaned in real close to him and just whispered, I still am, or something like that. And
yeah, I feel like there could have been a lot of really interesting responses. Holy cow.
Yeah, I was like, you should have. But, people they just say what they think. And it's so rude. I would never walk up to somebody and comment on their body, whether, whatever. I wouldn't say, oh, you're overweight or, you're way too skinny. You need to eat something. But people feel so okay just commenting on our bodies. I've been told oh, because of you, my husband's obsessed with porn because people like you. And it's
oh man,
what? People are just, there's
a lot of projecting there.
Yeah. And it's just, for me, I'm comfortable with my body. I'm comfortable with who I am. I know what I do is not inappropriate. I'm happy with it. And that's all that matters. So I really don't care anymore, but it used to really, really get to me. So.
You look like you have a question.
No, I'm just trying to think about what I would say to somebody in an elevator like that. I mean, I
really wish I could go back to that day.
So just to give you some perspective, Kerryne, I'm 6'6". I weigh 240 pounds, and almost everybody that I meet thinks that I played D1 football or D1 basketball or both, and I didn't do either. I'm actually kind of a nerd in hiding. And so anyway, people just assume that I have these stories about championship football games or dunking on people in basketball. I don't know. It's just an assumption that people make about your body type. When Amy started working out, I kind of tried to explain to her the gym dynamic. And she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, I don't know. As a male, when I go to the gym, for whatever reason, people think that they can say things to you that maybe they wouldn't say otherwise. And so one example is, how much do you weigh? I get asked that all the time at the gym. At the office, nobody asks that question. But at the gym, it's just hey dude, how much do you weigh? And Amy talks about how much she weighs in a very confident way. She looks at the scale, she's in bodybuilding, it makes sense. But there's some taboo nature to that almost if you're not in that profession. And I think people don't really know how to relate, especially when they see you in such good shape. They're almost jealous, so they don't even know what to say. Say something stupid about being a man. Surprised you didn't smack that day.
It's definitely a shift, though. I think, as women, unfortunately, we're socialized to eat a bunch of salad and do a bunch of cardio, and I'm currently, or I was in build season, my first build season, and I'm like, yeah, I put on my weight, and I'm excited about it, and everyone else is like, what? And so it's just I think that the world is just, it's such a shift from quote unquote normal perceptions of women and what they should and shouldn't be doing with their body. And to me, it's been very empowering. The show that I did was all women, and I was nervous being in a room of all women, but I just felt like most people were very supportive and most people were excited to be there, and that just made me want to keep doing it. So,
Kerryne, we only have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to give you a chance to maybe share. You've already accomplished so much, right? Getting your pro card, having just an awesome story about your overcoming of this eating disorder. But are there any specific goals that you'd like to share? You don't have to if you don't want to, but is there anything that you're working towards? that you're really excited about?
So I think right now my focus is really just trying to improve my own physique. While obviously I'm focusing on my clients as well, but I really have to grow, and that's probably hard for me. I'll admit that. Like I love my clients saying like their growing season's their favorite because it's not mine, and I'll admit that. I've been like pretty lean for the last 7 or 8 years, pretty strictly lean. So I've never had a coach put me through a growing season, an off season, I guess. And so, and that's been, I don't know why, but it's just never been like a topic for me. Like we're going to go into an off season, we're going to grow. I've been competing, I want to say the smallest amount of shows I've done a year, is only when I've been coaching. And it's been like, before that, the least amount of shows I've done is 6 per year.
Wow.
Obviously the Olympia year was 12 or 13 that year. But, so doing an off season is pretty scary for me. But I'm trying to like embrace it, and I have to grow, and I know that. So that's probably the one challenge for me. And I'm kind of trying to be excited about it. Cause I really want to I want to do awesome. I want to have like a really great year, and I want to, get back in that top 5. So that's my goal. But also just having like a really great season with my clients and getting some pros, that's another big goal for me. So
awesome. I think we're at time.
Is that how we're going to end it? We're just going to say at time.
No, we
All
really.
right, we'll have to edit that part out.
Yeah.
Could we do like a small edit there at the end?
No, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, I'm a therapist. That's my profession. So hearing people's stories and why they're doing what they're doing and how they got from point A to point B is my jam. And I really appreciate you being on here and being so honest with us. I love that. So.
Yeah, thanks for being such a great guest and being so vulnerable. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
This is Amy Wilhelmy. I'm the owner of Balance Wellness Collective. It's a holistic and integrative mental health practice located in St. Charles, Illinois, and telehealth. All of Illinois, we see individuals, adults, families, children, and adolescents. We are primarily family focused and also do divorce mediation. It is a mind, body, and spirit approach to care. You can find us at www.balancewellnesscollective.com. That was amazing. We met with Kerryne Henich, and
she's pretty awesome.
She's so cool. I mean, I'm obviously very fond because she's my coach.
Yeah.
And, she checks in with the bod all the time, but
pretty intimate with her.
It's a little intimate. Yeah.
One of my favorite things that she said was that she's got this community that she's built.
Yeah.
I think that's so important because if you're trying to do this journey of bodybuilding and really anything in life by yourself, it's tough.
Yeah. So we actually had a call with the community last night. We meet once a month, and the call is usually themed. So our theme yesterday was we were talking about macros, and the coach, she was on the call, and then there were 2 other coaches from Fit Body Fusion as well on the call. But just to see that community of master's level athletes, there were probably 20 to 25 of us, even just seeing their like little boxes, I was like, oh, like that woman kind of looks around my age, and so does that one. And I think we might have an in-person meetup too, which is cool. So,
whoa, post-COVID in-person meetups.
In-person meetup.
What are those?
Yeah. So the community that she's building, I think, is really amazing. So for sure.
I thought it was interesting that she's watching some of the same stuff that we are on Netflix.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, I definitely watch a lot of crappy reality TV when I need to turn my brain off, for sure. But what I like about her story and what's relatable to me is also, she's a mom. She has a blended family of 5. Sounds kind of familiar, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where I've heard that story before.
Yeah.
I did. I definitely need to go buy some Post-it notes. That's what I wrote that down. Buy Post-it notes.
Just stick on your treadmill, my treadmill. We don't have. You said we're going to buy a treadmill, though.
Oh, I think you said we're buying a treadmill.
There's a lot of cardio coming up.
Oh, boy. But no, I think that's a good reminder, even though I do think that I encourage you often, sometimes it's nice to have a little note somewhere, like in your meal prep box or something.
Yeah. You're going to start prepping my food too?
That I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. You're on your own on that one.
Yeah. I mean, what I love about the bodybuilding community in general, like I said, but about her specifically that she shared was, there is just kind of this ascension journey that she went on. She was very candid about her eating disorder. I actually find that there's a lot of bodybuilders that are women that are starting to talk about their eating disorder, or maybe their alcohol problem, or maybe that they were very overweight, or maybe that they went through something really difficult.
Maybe they're all reading a lot of Brene Brown.
Maybe they're all reading a lot of Brene Brown. No, but I mean, I love that she was so candid about that. I think that, from a mental health perspective, that's my biggest goal with mental health in general, is just to make it much more normal. Like, we have to normalize mental health. We have to say, like, people struggle with things and go through things, and you can overcome them. And so the more people that talk about their own stuff, I think that that's only extremely helpful to everyone else.
I think she pushed through a ton of obstacles. She was an office manager at a tech company. I don't know how many office managers at tech companies are like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder, but she freaking did it. I don't know how many people are like, I've got a bunch of kids, maybe I'll and I have this like side eating disorder that they don't really know about. I'm going to like flip it on its head and have like a positive eating, like you go from disorder, that's like a negative word. And then you go to like, I don't know what the opposite is.
You're in control of it, but it's such a different way. You're like actually like feeding yourself the nutrients that you need, because you can't build muscle like that being deficient. You just can't. So,
yeah, I think that she's an inspirational woman. She's leading a family. She's obviously got a bunch of women that I think they're all women that she's coaching. Mm-hmm. I wrote down that the advice that she would give other people was to set realistic expectations. I think that's so important in everything, right? Yeah. We're learning that with our kids. They want to Mason wants to play piano. He thinks he's going to be Beethoven by the time he's 5. It's not going to happen. But just, setting those realistic expectations. And then the other thing I wrote down is learn to be a good loser. That is really hard to do when you're maybe in your 30s. It's hard to do when you're in your teens and in your 20s too, but it doesn't get easier with time. But yeah, you're probably going to be clapping for a lot of other people at these shows for a long time before you're doing, pro stuff.
Right. I mean, she started in 2008, and I think like even these photos is tricky when you're first starting, right? Like, let's say that you're just somebody who's interested in bodybuilding, and you don't, like me last year, I was like, what is, like, I want to do this. And I knew that I wanted to do it for years, but I didn't really know what that meant. Mm-hmm. Like, you have no idea just looking at this, like how long that actually takes to build. And
7 years is what she said. Yeah. That's crazy. Right. 7 years is a long time.
That's a big commitment. Right. And so again, going on the realistic expectations track, I think, if being a pro is your goal, if stepping onto that Olympia stage someday, which is like the high goal, right? If that's what you want to do, then you need to know that you're really like going on that long journey.
I wonder if maybe for future guests, we can get like a before and after pic, or if that would really piss everybody off. I don't know.
No, I actually like it when people share those. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, it's hard to like think of her as not being this way.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is who she is now. She's like fit.
And she said like at one point 100 pounds,
She said she was blonde, 100 pounds. And I would imagine not super tone. Like if you're not working out, you're not going to be super tone.
Right.
But tip my hat to her. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So thankful she came on. I think she was an amazing guest. So
what was your number one takeaway? Like when you're reading through your notes that you took and thinking about the things that she said, all the smart things, like what was your number one? I mean, you talk to her every day, but like in this context.
No, I think what I appreciate about her most, again, is her thought about building up the masters community, because again, it's just a much different experience if you are a 20-year-old competitor versus, you're my age. I'm 38, right? And I remember people specifically talking about like refeeds, which is like your cheat meal. Sometimes if you're on prep, you're deep in prep, you eat the same thing. Maybe you're on a meal plan, you're eating cod and asparagus, and then you get this refeed meal, right? Like a younger competitor might be like, okay, I'm going to go like get a burger and fries, right? But like for me, it was like, I just want to eat dinner with my family, you know? And so I just really, really appreciate her working with Jamie, and then Jamie being open to the masters community that they're building.
Do you think we'll have her on again?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Bugger.
Well, this is great. I mean, I think, as we start to build the database, of interesting stories, we're going to have a lot of really interesting people, but we're also going to have a lot of really great takeaways. That's what I want to have with these podcasts is like, what did you take away? So I'm going to get some Post-it notes. That's my takeaway. Have you ever been stuck in life? Have I got a book for you? Ascension Mentality, written by Amy Wilhelmi, public speaker, athlete, and licensed therapist. In her book, Amy takes us through a raw and vulnerable journey as she unravels from childhood trauma and navigates her career, marriage, and parenthood. She takes us on a deep dive into her life and how when emotions are left unprocessed, they seep into adulthood as she tries to navigate the task of growing up. You cannot change what you did. You cannot change what has happened to you. But you can change how you feel about it. You can let go of what is holding you back. When you process and unwind trauma, you don't lose what made you strong. You only lose what no longer serves you. To ultimately be a better human, friend, parent, partner, coworker, daughter or son, and leader. It's time to let go. Ascension Mentality.
This has been an Ascension Mentality Podcast. Hit subscribe for all the latest episodes. For more information, visit ascensionmentality.com. Ascension Mentality, making mental gains.